So one thing I realized is that people love saying that Japanese is completely different, but different from what? Mostly from English. And that is not the same thing as saying it is completely different from us. That is the whole point of this video. I think Indians have a hidden advantage in Japanese. Some parts of Japanese feel less alien to Hindi speakers than they do to many English first learners. And once you see where the advantages actually shows up, Japanese stops looking like random complexity and starts looking like a system. So first, let's define the claim properly, because this is exactly where people usually become careless. I'm not saying this is a script advantage, I'm not saying this is a vocabulary advantage, and I'm not saying Hindi equals Japanese. The advantage I'm talking about is structural and conceptual. It shows up in three important places: sentence flow, grammar logic, and social language. In other words, some of the things that feel very foreign through English do not feel equally foreign through Hindi. That is the real claim. Not sameness, not hype, just a better starting point in some places. Let's start with the first proof: sentence flow. One reason Japanese feels strange to many English firsts is that English expects the action very early. For example, I go to Japan, but in Hindi is already comfortable putting the action later. मैं जापान जाता हूँ, and Japanese does the same kind of thing. Watashi wa Nihon ni ikemasu. Now, I want to be careful here. I'm not saying these languages are grammatically identical. What I'm saying is that the rhyme of thought is less shocking. If your brain already knows how to wait for the action, then Japanese sentence structure feels less unnatural. You still have to learn it, but your mind is not meeting that pattern for the first time. Now next, this becomes even clearer when the sentence gets longer. Look at English. I'm going to Japan tomorrow with my friend. Now look at Hindi. मैं कल अपने दोस्तों के साथ जापान जा रहा हूँ. And now Japanese. Watashi wa ashita tomodachi to Nihon ni ikimasu. What is happening here? In both Hindi and Japanese, you can keep stacking information before the final action. Time, person, relationship, destination, all of that can build up first and then the main action lands later. That means Hindi speakers are already used to a sentence where the payoff comes towards the end. And that matters, because if your brain is already trained to hold meaning while waiting for the verb, Japanese sentence order feels less structurally shocking. Now, the second proof: grammar markers after nouns. This is one of the most useful comparisons in this whole video. English usually introduces a relationship before a noun phrase: in the house with a friend from Tokyo. But in Hindi is already comfortable with markers after the noun phrase, like घर में दोस्तों के साथ Tokyo से. And Japanese also makes you read the relationship after the noun. So again, the point is not that every word matches perfectly. The point is that Hindi speakers are already used to reading a noun first and then a small marker that tells you the relationship, location, source, accompaniment, position. That structural habit makes Japanese particles feel less alien than they look at first. And this is where I want to make the argument more precise. The point is not that every Japanese particle has a perfect Hindi twin. That would be sloppy teaching. The point is that both languages often use small markers to do a relational jobs. In Hindi, words like मैं, से, का के and के साथ carry important relational meaning. In Japanese, particles like ni, de, gara, no, and to also carry important relationship meanings. So now the exact meaning do not overlap perfectly every time, and they should not be forced to. But the useful bridge is that Hindi speakers are already comfortable with the idea that tiny grammar markers can carry a lot of meaning. And that is a difference because it means particles are not conceptually from another planet, they are just a new system doing a familiar kind of job. Now, the third proof, and honestly the deepest one, social language. Hindi speakers do not grow up in a socially flat language. We already know that the person in front of you changes the language that feels right. There is a tu, tum, or aap. There is closeness, there is respect, there is distance, and there is tone. In Hindi, the relationship shapes the speech. In Japanese, it also treats language socially. It has casual forms, it has polite forms, and it has higher register, honorific, and humble patterns. Now, again, I'm being careful. These are not identical systems. Hindi and Japanese do not distribute respect in exact the same way, but the instinct underneath them is familiar. Language is not only about meaning, language is also about relationship. So when Japanese asks you to carry about appropriateness, formality, and social distance, that idea is not landing on empty ground. So now we can finally answer the questions properly. What is the hidden advantage? It is not free fluency, it is not easy kanji, and it is not instant Japanese. And it is definitely not the same language. The hidden advantage is familiarity. Less shocking sentence flow, less alien looking grammar markers, more intuitive respect logic, a better conceptual starting point. That does not remove the work, but it changes the way the work feels. And that matters a lot because there is a huge difference between the language is impossible and foreign and the language is new, but I can already see the logic. That is a hidden advantage, not fluency, not familiarity. So, what should you actually do with this? First, stop learning Japanese only through English. English can still help, of course, but it should not be your only bridge. Second, stop treating Japanese as only, the only pile of words and rules. Ask better questions. Where is the verb? Where is the marker doing? What relationship is this form managing? Why does this tone fit the situation? Third, use Hindi as a learning bridge wherever it genuinely helps. Not to force fake one-to-one matches, but to notice where your brain already recognizes a pattern. That is smart learning. So, no, I'm not saying Japanese is effortless. I'm saying Indians may have a hidden advantage in parts of Japanese that actually matter: sentence flow, grammar relationships, and social languages. And once you stop ignoring that advantage, Japanese starts feeling less like a wall and more like a system you can actually enter.